He's going to offer some words and some stories and some things about Pam. Thank you.
Just a word of information for you. We are recording today's service so that it can be put onto the internet on YouTube. For my church, I have a YouTube channel, and that will allow the people who are not here because of timing or because of distance, were not able to participate in this very important moment of transition, to be able to see it and to be able to watch. And the way the internet is, grandchildren will be able to grow up and see what it meant and who Pam was. So I wanted you to know that. There is an event that's happening out at Harry and Pam's house out on Center Road in Kendall following, and they'll be giving you instructions regarding that as well. There is not an interment today. We are here for the memorial service of Pamela Kay Phillips. She was born on Tuesday, April 9th, 1957. She passed away on Monday, May 5th, 2014. She had just passed her 57th birthday by 27 days. That gives her 846 days of life, just over 20,000. In Psalm 39, David, at a very stressful point in his life, was not sure what was going to happen. Though he was king of Israel and he was able to oversee a vast army and incredible wealth, he wrote in Psalm 39, "Show me, O Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting is my life. You have made my days a mere handbreadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Each person's life is but a breath. Man is a mere phantom as he goes to and fro. He bustles about, but only in vain. He heaps up wealth, not knowing who will get it. But now, O Lord, who do I look for? My hope is in you." One of the ways that I learn about people is what kind of family and friends they have around them, how they respond to life, who they are. I'm a pastor of a small congregation here in Hilton, Parma Christian Fellowship Church. I had not met Pam, I don't think. Her face seems incredibly familiar to me, but it may have just been one of those faces that looks incredibly familiar. But getting a chance to spend some time with family and meeting you and watching, if she's surrounded by folks of your integrity and your quality, it reflects upon who she is as a person. She was born first in her family, the eldest of four, followed by Gary, Gina, and Sid. Her children are Ian and Heather, and Ian and Heather also have two children. She was the grandmother for Oscar and Kaylin. She married Harry on July 7th, 2001. That gave them 13, almost 14 years. 20,846 days, just over 500,000 hours. 500,000. That's all. 57 years, that sometimes seems pretty long to do something for over 50 years. Sometimes it seems way too short. 500,000 hours, 30 million minutes. It's easy to spend them, waste them, lose track of them. What's interesting about Pam is that her life tended to be in round numbers, whole things. They seem complete. 20,000 days, 500,000 hours, just a few more than 500,000. It's pretty close to an even number. 30 million. The life is never rounded off. It never comes out complete. I met a man once who was in his early 90s. He had been married to his wife over 75 years. They were married as teenagers, and they said, teen marriages don't last 72 or 73 years. I was a young pastor then, and I said, it must be wonderful to have had so many years together. And his instant response was, it wasn't long. A life that's well lived is never long enough. And Pam is the kind of person who has a life not long enough. She was born on April 9th in 1957. It's the 99th day of the year, the 100th day in leap years. She shared a birthday with some important events. Robert E. Lee surrendered to U.S. Grant at Appomattox on her birthday before she started using it. In 1867, Alaska was purchased from Russia by a vote of 1 in the U.S. Congress. Every vote counts, and that's one of those amazing moments on her birthday. In 1957, the year that she was born, on the day that she was born, the Suez Canal opened in Egypt for shipping business. She and the Suez are exactly the same age. In 1926, Hugh Hefner was born on her birthday. In 1932, Jim Fowler was born, who is the host of Omaha, a Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, all about animals. On her birthday, Michael Learned, who is the woman who played the wife of John Walton on Little House on the Prairie, was born. It's interesting, she shared a birthday with Hugh Hefner and Michael Learned. Now, it's not the day that you're born, it's what you do with it. And what she did with her birthday is a pretty amazing story. We won't be able to recount all that. We're not having eulogies today. We're not doing testimonials. A vast, vast amount of the details of her life will only be known in stories by those who experienced them with her. It is impossible to summarize even the value of a human life. But we honor and we express significance. A memorial is to create a memory, and most of life we don't recall, except for moments that become important to us. You will have those kinds of moments, and sharing them creates a collective understanding. That's of vital importance. It seems at times, when you look at someone older than you, that 57 years was really long enough to live, but it wasn't. When you regard someone who is younger than you, you can't believe it. Pam's illness was incredibly aggressive, but so was Pam. She was a fighter. The stories that we shared last night had to do with her being aggressive against her number one enemy, which was her own body. Nothing in those cancers was not her. And exactly why that happens and what it means, we don't know. That we turn on ourselves in times, and that becomes a battle we cannot succeed to win. She did not give up. According to the testimony that Harry and Diane and Jean were saying last night, to the last 48 hours, she pushed herself. She pushed everybody else around her. She wanted to keep on all the treatments simultaneously. When I was 15, I watched my mother die. She died of a very aggressive cancer at a young age, 42. It was fascinating because there was nothing I could do to help her. I had to simply watch, and I was in the room when all my other family members had left. And I felt like someone quickly got up and walked out of the room, but it was only me and my mother. In my background, which was incredibly non-religious, very secular, I had no expectation that something spiritual was going to happen. No anticipation, I wasn't looking for it. So I went out and found a medical professional, a very seasoned nurse, and I said, something just happened in the room where my mother is. Somebody got up and walked out. She came in and checked the machinery. As a 15-year-old, I knew how to do that. She'd been sick for quite a while. She turned to me and she said, I think your mother just died. I said, why would you say that? She said, I have been in this profession a very long time. Some people can sense that and some people cannot. She goes, we don't know what makes a person alive. What's gone when they die? We don't know. All the elements, all the molecules, all the structures are still there. But in one moment, a cell, a body, is alive, and then it's not. Death actually is not something coming in. It's not an invasion. It doesn't replace anything that's alive. It's that life leaves. Something real, something true, something positive is gone when death comes. The struggle I had was to understand not only life and death as a kid, but to understand the very nature of what it means to be human. I'm a collection of minerals and water, but that doesn't make me a rock in a lake. You see a picture that comes up quite regularly of Pam as a younger woman sitting on a solid rock, a big boulder out in the middle of water. Those elements make up her body. Water and substance. But that's not alive, yet she is. At some point, a rock cannot die because there is no life in it to leave. But on Monday, Cinco de Mayo, the day of celebration for the Spanish world of victory of a lesser over a greater, the state of Mexico against Spain, is the day that she passed. It may seem that the greater took over the lesser, but that's not really true. She overcame the greater. She was able to continue, but not in this body. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. You will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, my burden is light." He talks about the body, the flesh, the substance. He talks about life and about death. He talks about power. He also talks about the soul. But what is that? Where does it come from? Where does it go to? My mother's death sent me on a quest to begin asking questions no one wanted to answer. They didn't even want to ask the questions. Where did Pam go? While she was having surgeries and parts of her body were removed, that was not her. We don't collect all the substance. We don't keep it around to make sure that we honor all of that. We don't. But there's something that made her who she is. Her soul. Though illness beat her down, it did not change her soul. Though she may have lost faculties and strength, she did not lose her soul. And though cancer eventually defeated her body, it did not defeat her soul. How do we summarize a life that was really too short? What was still in store? She was devoted to her family. When I asked that question last night, tell me about Pam. family was the first word out of everyone's mouth. So was party. So was travel, so was animals. But family was first. Her devotion, her dedication, her passion. She loved going somewhere. And one of the comments that was made was she couldn't believe she stayed stuck in one place so long. She was the kind of person that leaned forward, not backward. She didn't have rearview mirrors on her life, constantly checking the past. Was able to say, let's go somewhere, let's do something. When the news was harsh, tragic, even brutal, she didn't waste time looking back. She said, let's get going on this. Let's move somewhere. Let's go ahead. Let's fight. She felt that education was a key because education creates opportunities. Without having the ability to learn something, anything, to discover, you don't change. You cannot seize what's out there without being prepared and making it happen. So she did that. She lived that way. In various careers and different opportunities, for different workers, workplaces, she made things happen. She leaned into it, always learning what she could do. One story that was told was she broke her kneecap or her ankle, or maybe both, and was in a wheelchair and went to work because, you know, there's just things that need to be done. And she's certainly not going to sit around on disability while everybody else is picking up her slack. So she's rolling around Oak Orchard Healthcare, getting things done. That is insane. That's Pam. Was it hard to go through what she went through? Could have been. Probably was. But was Pam the kind of person that became a victim and then celebrated? No. She refused to be a victim. She was not a loser. And she didn't lose this one either. She went until, on her terms, it was time to go. And she did that. She was a driven optimist. Some people look at a glass half full and say it's half empty. Some people look at a glass half full and say, why did they make it twice as big as it needed to be? Pam was the kind of person that was not only looking at the glass half full, she was trying to fill it up. Make it the rest of the way. She delighted in animals, but she could still eat them for dinner, even her pets. She wanted a skunk. She wouldn't have eaten that one. Skunk meat is really bad. I don't speak from personal experience. There are some things we really desire to do and we don't get them done. But that's true whether a life is 20 years long or 60 years long or 90 years long. There's always things to do unless you've just given up. Pam did not give up. She was dedicated to the people who were in her life, her colleagues, her clients. One of the requests from Pam was to make donations not in flowers, but to Arc of Orleans County for children with disabilities, with challenges and differing abilities. I asked her family, why Arc of Orleans County? Not Paws or Humane Society. She loved animals. Don't know. Pam would have to answer that one. She wanted to make a difference. She wanted to make a difference for people who couldn't make a difference for themselves. We spent a lot of time talking about her furry and feathered friends. The various dogs and cats and friends that came into her life. I asked about music. Country. But the one song they said Pam liked, and I cannot imagine what the story is behind this, was Mule Train. So I did what any intelligent modern person would do today. I Googled Mule Train. And I found a 1947 recording of Tennessee Ernie Ford singing Mule Train. That is a plain old dumb song. Clickety-clack, and he sings that about 70 times with a cracking whip in the background saying, keep on going, keep on going. Maybe that's what that was about. Keep on going. Mules have a really hard time backing up. They do not have a reverse. And it may very well be that that's exactly why Pam liked that song and why it expresses who she is. Clippity-clop. Keep getting along. Brother Gary is wearing a shirt that has the words from Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound on it. There's a new chorus after that song's been sung about 400 years by people in the church. That was just written a couple of years ago. And the new chorus says, my chains are gone. I've been set free. My God, my Savior's ransomed me. I said to my music team just last week, when I die, sing that song at my funeral. Because death is not a loss. It's not an end. It's being set free. On occasion, I use the illustration of a person in total control of their world. Total control. They know the extent of everything that's happening around them, and it exists for them. They are the center of that universe. Everything that is needed is provided. Without that person even needing to think about it, it is given. They are protected from every harm. And then one day, with no warning, all of that begins to collapse. The person in the center of the universe cannot understand what is happening or why. Everything that makes life sensible is destroyed in a moment. And a baby is born. To try and explain to a baby what's on the other side of the birth process, what colors, what tastes, what sounds, what hugs, what all that means, they could not imagine when they were the center of their own universe. But that day comes to an end, and a new world comes. Paul wrote to the Corinthians an interesting letter. They were a troubled bunch of people that had really messed up life. And so he corrects them in strong, strong words throughout 1 Corinthians. But in the middle, towards the end of that book, he writes a chapter that is often read at weddings. That's an amazing chapter of 1 Corinthians 13 that talks about a day like this. Paul writes, if I speak in the tongues of men and angels, but I have no love, I'm nothing. I am a resounding gong, I'm just a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom mysteries and knowledge, and I have a faith that moves mountains, but I have no love, the sum is, I'm nothing. If I give everything I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the fire, but have no love, I gain nothing from it. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Love is not rude, It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It does not keep a record of wrong suffered. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Where there's prophecy, it will cease. Tongues, they'll be silenced. Where there is knowledge, it passes away. We know in part, we prophesy in part, but when perfection comes, the partial passes away. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put childish things behind me. You see, now we see but a poor reflection in a dim glass, an imperfect mirror, but then we shall see face to face. I know in part now, but I shall know fully then, even as I am fully known. And then comes a statement that's written on plaques and put on bumper stickers and displayed all over. Therefore, there remain these three: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. I wondered, why is love the greatest? Well, you see, we who remain in memory of Pam need faith. We live by faith. We walk by faith. We can't prove everything that we deal with on a daily basis. We can't gain absolute knowledge. We only know in part, so we live by faith on everything, not religious faith. When you're driving along, how do you know there's not black ice or oil or some terrible thing in the roadway that you can't estimate and can't anticipate? You don't know. You drive by faith. You walk by faith. You don't know. If all we do is think about things in the past, then we live by reflection and history. But we don't. We live by hope. We look forward. We don't have those things yet. They're out in front of us, so we live by hope. What connects us together is our love, our acceptance of one another, the bonds, the connections, the memories, the shared sense of life. So for us, we have faith in order to be able to live, hope to drive us forward, and love that pulls us together. What does Pam have today? Does she need faith? No. She sees everything as it really is. Faith is what you can't see. Now she can see. Hope is for a future which you do not yet possess. She has the future. She owns it. But she will always be loved. She is loved by God. She is loved by you. So the greatest of these is love. To be able to share in the story, not just the stories, but the story, the truth of Pamela Kay Phillips is important. We suffer a sense of loss. Her grandchildren and future grandchildren that may come along will not remember her presence or the sound of her voice. There might by chance have been a picture or at least an overlapping of time between their very, very young lives and her ending life. But the story will always belong to them. My children never got a chance to meet either my father or my mother. Both of them died young. But they know the story. They know the truth. So share those stories to make the story. We live by faith, by hope, and by love. The greatest of these is love. Let me pray with you. Heavenly Father, you made us mortal. There are times that we think that was not a very good choice. We transition, we grow. We're always changing from babies to senior citizens. We gain, we lose, we learn, we forget. We grow strong, we grow weak. We are injured, we heal. In fact, we're constantly changing. And that is according to design, not a mistake. You also made us to transition out of gestation into life, and out of life into, not death, that's nothing, into life. From life into life into life. We celebrate and honor the gift to the lives of these friends and family of Pam Phillips. We do not want her story just simply to end and she becomes a wisp of the wind that no one can recall. For she is important, vital, significant. We thank you for having lent her to us, and now what God has given, God has also taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all these things, we need your care and comfort, because we still do walk by faith and by hope. But also let us walk by your love. We pray in the mighty name of Jesus.
I'd like to thank Reverend Merrill for his words. I hope that his words and some of his stories help some of us get through some of the difficult things we're feeling. But one of the difficult things of being a funeral director is I never had the opportunity to meet Pam. So as I said earlier, between watching the videos and hearing some stories that Reverend Merrill shared and some of the pictures, it helps me get a better understanding of who she was and who I helped throughout the year. And as he talked about grandkids and future grandkids, unfortunately didn't have that opportunity. But if you notice, funeral home staff wears a pin on her lapel. That pin symbolizes her legacy to me. Years ago, some of the older folks in the room may remember that when you had a death in your family, there was a wreath placed on your front door of your home or your business that represented that our family's going through a loss and help us understand and get through those days. The black ribbon represents the death, and then there's two hearts, your love for Pam and her love back to you. We give these pins to our families in hopes that, and my challenge to everyone in the room, that if you see that pin on, whether it's this family or another family, it's your opportunity to ask about that pin and continue that person's legacy on into the days and weeks and months and years ahead.
He wants me to drop it.
Doug can put that on.
It did happen once. There you go. Got it? I'm gonna put it on your collar.
For sale.
Get along, you.
So, I think as we leave this place this evening, we think of one thing that Reverend Merrill said, and he said, Pam always gave in life, and her thought was to give after her death. So I think as we leave tonight, think of one of those things that she did for you, one of those special times or something that she did special, and share it with someone else, and our community is still continue to be a great place to live in. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. What we could do is, if you'd like to, you can come up and say a final word to Harry and the kids if you'd like to do that, or you're welcome to take your exit.
Then we will meet up at the cemetery tomorrow morning. Somebody was gonna give me I'm gonna go up Route 31. I take that to 425, and then what do I do? Is somebody there that can help me?
You guys know how you do it. You love it.
Yeah, it's 31, yeah, 31 to 425, which is Shawnee. Take Shawnee to Erie, or the boulevard. Turn left on the boulevard, go up to, what is that, Tonawanda Creek?
Yeah, that's the road the cemetery is on.
Tonawanda Creek,
Yeah,
right.
I'll recognize it.
Make a left, and then it's on your left.
Yeah.
Out.
Turns into bus.
Yes.
Right.
So the immediate family is gonna assemble there, and we are going to have a brief word of committal. And then Pam's cremains are going to be placed in a special memorial boulder that, how many years ago did you arrange for that?
2007.
Okay, yeah. But other family members are resting there in that cemetery. Just reiterating what Doug said, but thank you to Mike Merrill and to everybody for being here. God bless.
My stepmother is 94, just turned out. Someday is coming to
And Frank. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.